Risk is encapsulated primarily. Remember, I'm not speaking as a person who has an opinion on risk. I've spent years and years studying mathematical scientific research on risk. A lot of risk is incorporated in a couple of different areas: time and information. And time and information are connected. The more time I spend with you, the more information I can get before I decide if I want to invest in you. If you're a startup founder, you want me to invest in your company, well, there's a difference between me knowing you 5 years versus me knowing you for 5 months. Because during that time, I've picked up information about you and I've been able to gain a more accurate risk assessment of you. I've been able to reduce the variation in my assessments. I can hit the bullseye or the arrow on the bullseye a little more effectively because I spent time just observing you. And when I tell you that looking at investments in this way is critically important in everything that you do, I'm not just talking about money. Sure, when you buy real estate, take your time because you get locked in I don't know if you've ever seen somebody get locked in a real estate deal they couldn't get out. That's the thing about these deals. It's very easy. They make it really easy for you to give them your money, but they make it really hard for you to pull your money out. So before I put my money in, because I know about things that we talked about in this class, like moral hazard, which means that the minute I give you my money, I'm giving you my power because money is power. That's why you got to stop giving white folks all your money, unless you don't want to be powerful, unless you want to be powerless forever. So because I know money is power, if I'm in my right mind, I do my due diligence to take time before I give you my money. No, I'm not jumping in the real estate deal just because you gave me a 1 hour sermon that had me jumping up and down out of the seat. No, I'm not going to invest in this business just because you're telling me that, that we're cool and that it's going to be a great idea and it's going to transform the black community and make $1 billion. No, I'm going to do due diligence. I'm saying, let me think about that. Let me send me the information. Let me dip my toe in the water. I'm not going to give you 50,000, but I'll start off with 2,000. What can I do for 2,000 just so I can know how this is going to work? And so generally speaking, when you go back to that trauma and healing thing, I want to connect the dots here so you don't think I'm talking all over the place. When the lady talked about trauma, I started thinking about the undiagnosed, untreated trauma in our community. I started thinking about financial trauma responses. I'm about to give you a list of ways to know if you have financial trauma responses, how trauma can be very costly in terms of not just the emotional pain, but the financial pain as well. A lot of people lose money because of trauma responses. I'll explain that in more detail. But I also thought about trauma being linked to risk, and trauma affects how you view risk, right? And your goal when you make a decision is to not avoid risk. Risk is inevitable if you are an investor, whether you're investing in financial markets or investing in people, right? I invest in people. I invested in my wife by choosing to marry her, right? So trauma affects risk assessments in these investments, but also risk, once you want to minimize that calculated risk to make it what we call efficient. In the financial world, we call that efficient risk. When you minimize your risk, you still take a risk, but it's a calculated risk. It's not a crazy risk. And risk is minimized through information and time. And time and information are cousins because the more time you spend analyzing something, the more information you have. For example, many of you that have taken a class from me, some of you I know for a fact sat there and you watched me for 5 years before you decided to make a move. And I'm all for it. I'm here for that because it gave me an opportunity. It gave me 5 straight years to show you that I know my stuff, that I'm very consistent, that I'm not going to go nowhere. Tell me if you agree with this. Tell me if this is you, right? So ultimately, time and information are connected with risk assessments, and traumatized people have to know this because you get traumatized when you jump into something head first.